Hey, what's going on, everyone? Kyle Henderson along with Andrew Bone. New commitment in for the Alabama Crimson Tide. This time it is Tyler Booker out of the IMG Academy here with Andrew Bone to break it all down. Bone, 6'5", 325 pounds. Big pickup for Alabama.
Absolutely. We try to tell Alabama fans good news was coming. And, it's been a few good weeks for the Crimson Tide. And now they pick up a huge offensive line commitment in Tyler Booker, the first offensive lineman in this year's recruiting class. A great commitment for Alabama. Tyler Booker took an official visit to Alabama that last weekend in June, where we saw a lot of top prospects visiting the Crimson Tide. And, kind of had a feeling that after that visit that Alabama was in the driver's seat. Just his relationship with the coaching staff, players on the team, just felt like Alabama was bound to get his commitment. And there were some top schools that were in the race for him, but in the end, it's Alabama.
Bone, I have to rewind this clip real quick as the opening because on Huddle, he lists himself as a tackle and a running back, but, big man getting some love and getting into the end zone.
I saw a tweet from him a while back that said that he should be listed as an athlete. He started out his career actually on the defensive line. Started out as a defensive lineman back when he was a freshman in high school, and then moved over to the offensive side of the ball. And I think he found his calling on the offensive side. But this is a guy who can, you can move it into goal line situations, regardless if he's playing at the tackle position. You can line him up at fullback, at running back, and he can squeeze into the end zone. So this is definitely a tremendous athletic specimen at 6'5". I think he's a little bit taller. I think he's probably closer to about 6'6" now, 325 pounds. I know Alabama coaches are really excited about Tyler Booker. And, he was certainly one of the Tide's top offensive line targets throughout this entire recruiting process. Received his offer from Alabama last year back in 2020. And ever since then, Alabama's been pushing hard for that commitment.
Bone, originally Tyler Booker from New Haven, Connecticut, transferred, to New Jersey. Now to the IMG Academy, built a very strong relationship with Doug Marrone. I think this is one of the first times that, we started to talk about Doug Marrone in the recruiting sense, former head football coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Talk about kind of that backstory and probably how that pushed Tyler Booker to commit to Alabama.
Tyler Booker, he had two Alabama coaches who recruited him, who are first-year coaches in Tuscaloosa. You had Robert Gillespie, the running backs coach, who's the area recruiter, who's in charge of recruiting IMG Academy for the Crimson Tide, which obviously is a hotbed full of talent. But you also have Doug Marrone, first-year offensive line coach at Alabama, who built a great relationship with Tyler Booker. And, both of these guys are Northeast guys. Coach Marrone, grew up in the Bronx, went to Syracuse, and has a lot of connections in the area. Only about 4 hours away from Tyler Booker's hometown. So, they had that chemistry, that connection, and I think that certainly helped in recruiting him and getting him to commit to the Crimson Tide today.
Hey, Bone, you look to the IMG pipeline. Most recently, J.C. Latham. I know those two had a good relationship, even played on the same field. Talk about that relationship and maybe how that helped Booker make the ultimate commitment to Alabama.
Yeah, I think it played a tremendous role in his commitment to the Crimson Tide. This is a guy who, had a really strong connection with J.C. Latham. They played on opposite sides of each other. You had J.C. Latham as a starting left tackle for IMG the last couple of years, and Tyler Booker on the other side at the starting right tackle. And when he visited Tuscaloosa a few weeks back, J.C. Latham was his host for the weekend, so they spent a lot of time together. He said that that's his brother, and I know he's really looking forward to playing alongside him here in the future. But JC kind of showed him the ropes around Tuscaloosa. Basically told him, like, this is where you need to come. This is where you can develop the best. This is where you're going to have the best opportunity to reach your goals. And I think Tyler really listened to that. And once he kind of toured the campus, saw everything, he really fell in love with Alabama and everything they have to offer.
Probably spoke with, I'm sure, Evan Neal and Trey Sanders as well. That IMG pipeline very strong for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Bone received his offer from Alabama May of 2020. Took his official visit June 25th through the 27th. Also took official visits to Florida, Georgia, Ohio State, and Oregon. Obviously, those schools up in the mix. Kind of talk about that, and maybe being the fact that he just went to Alabama most recently, maybe that was what propelled him to commit to Alabama.
Yeah, I think you look at the schools that were in the running for his signature or commitment, and I certainly think that he had some great options out there, and visited all 5 of those programs in the month of June. There was a lot of talk that Florida was in the lead early in his recruitment, and then I took that official visit to Georgia in June, and there was a lot of talk that he was leaning heavily towards the Bulldogs, but then he took that visit to Alabama that final weekend, and we always say don't get too excited about these first visits, because these kids are going to go on these visits for the first time. They're going to be excited. They're going to fall in love. They haven't gone on any official visits before, so they're going to come off of these trips on this crazy emotional high. Let them kind of sit back, go on their next visit, and then go on their other visits. So, he took all of his visits, then took the final one to Alabama on that final weekend of June. And, really, told me, he said, I saved the best for last. And, I think Alabama really sold him, on playing, in their system, and also, being developed in that system. I think that was a big part of his decision-making process. And as we know, IMG has been a hotbed for talent, especially for Alabama. It's been almost a pipeline to Tuscaloosa, where Alabama's been signing an IMG Academy prospect just about every single year, and they keep that tradition alive. And I think here in the future, we're going to continue to see more kids from IMG sign with the University of Alabama.
Bone, Alabama lands its first offensive lineman commitment. Who else should Alabama fans watch at the position? And overall, who could be next as the month of July continues to heat up for the Crimson Tide?
Well, offensive line-wise, I certainly think you have to watch, Dane Shore out of Alpharetta, Georgia, going to be making a decision here on July the 31st. I think Alabama's probably in the driver's seat for him. You also have a few other offensive linemen who are out there that Alabama has a great chance with, including Elijah Pritchett, 4-star offensive lineman from Georgia, Columbus, Georgia. Now, with Pritchett, he's going to wait a little bit longer. He's going to wait probably until the fall. He wants to go to some games, experience the game day atmospheres, and be on the sidelines and stuff like that before he makes that decision. But I still think Alabama is in great shape for Elijah Pritchett. Now, there's some other offensive linemen out there that Alabama's involved with. Zach Rice, 5-star from Virginia, certainly a guy that they would love to add in its class. But as of right now, I think he's probably going to stay a little bit closer to home. I'm looking at Virginia, North Carolina, probably schools that are in the driver's seat for Zach Rice right now. And I know people are going to say, well, why would you choose Virginia and North Carolina over Alabama, especially at the offensive line position? I think just proximity to home. I think his comfort level, with those schools, visiting those schools more often than Alabama. He's only taken one visit to Alabama. Now, it's not to say he's not going to choose the Tide, but as of right now, I think he's probably leaning more towards those schools. He also really likes Notre Dame a lot as well. But they're going to have some other offensive linemen that are going to visit Tuscaloosa over the course of the next several months. Julian Armella, the #1 offensive tackle in the country, says that he's going to take a visit to Alabama, likely in November for the LSU game. So we're going to be watching, several guys kind of moving forward. But this is going to be a smaller offensive line class. Last year's offensive line class, best in the nation, and this year probably only going to sign maybe 3 or 4 offensive linemen in this year's class. So, smaller numbers this year, but certainly going after some elite talent. But overall, I think, Alabama, we could see a tremendous run of commitments over the course of the next few weeks. You have Kobe Prentice, in-state wide receiver from Calera, who just recently decommitted from Maryland. I think Alabama's in great shape with him, and we could see a decision from him relatively soon. Jake Pope, safety athlete from state of Georgia, from Buford High School. He's going to be making a decision within the next few weeks. I really like Alabama's chances with him as well. We mentioned Dane Shore making a commitment here pretty soon. So there's a lot of guys to make who could be making a decision over the course of the next few weeks, and I think Alabama's going to be in great shape.
Well, there you have it. Tyler Booker in for the Alabama Crimson Tide, as well as a couple additional prospects to keep on your radar as Alabama continues to heat up in the month of July. He's Andrew Bone. I'm Kyle Henderson. We'll be back with another video. Definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. Big pickup today for Alabama.